Thank you, Madam President. I would ask unanimous consent that when the Senate resumes consideration of Senate Bill 2199, that it be in order for my amendment numbered 3808 to be called up.
Is there objection?
Madam President.
Senator from Connecticut.
I object.
Objection is heard.
Madam President.
Senator from New Hampshire.
Thank you, Madam President. I know that in just offering the amendment that I sought to offer on the Senate floor that I have received an objection. And let me tell you a little bit what I'm trying to offer. The objection that I just received on the other side of the aisle is a demonstration of what is wrong in the United States Senate right now. And what is happening in the Senate right now is that the majority leader keeps bringing legislation to the floor, and people are not allowed to offer amendments that directly pertain to the legislation. In fact, right now pending on the Senate floor is the so-called Paycheck Fairness Act, and I have an amendment that I want to offer on the Senate floor to that act that deals with addressing pay discrimination, but I'm not going to be permitted to allowed to offer that amendment. I guess the first question you have to ask is, why is that? Why is it that when we have such an important issue, which I acknowledge is an important issue, that people in this country be treated fairly, that we be paid solely based on our experience and qualifications, that we eliminate discrimination in the workplace, something that you would hope that we could work together on and that we could have a real debate on this Senate floor about. But if someone comes to the floor and offers an amendment, what we get is an objection, because really what we're doing right now on the Senate floor, let's just be clear about it. This is a political charade. It's to try to score political points on an issue that is very important that we shouldn't be sitting here trying to score political points on. Why can't both sides of the aisle offer their amendments on ideas on how to eliminate discrimination in the workplace? It seems to me that if you're serious about the issue, the majority leader would allow individuals like me and other senators on both sides of the aisle to come to the floor, offer their amendments. But we've just seen that when I've done that I got an objection instead of allowing my amendment to be debated fully on this floor. So as I've said, all Americans should be treated fairly and paid solely based on their experience and qualifications. And discrimination has no place in the American workforce. There are important laws that we have passed on a bipartisan basis in the Congress. Laws like the Equal Pay Act and Title VII of the Civil Rights Act are there to combat workplace discrimination. Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964 became the first federal law designed to protect U.S. workers from employment discrimination based upon a person's sex. The Equal Pay Act of 1963 requires employers to pay female employees the same wages that they pay male employees for equal work. Very important laws. Both Title VII and the Equal Pay Act provide a way for those who are discriminated against to file complaints against their employers and pursue financial remedies if they are discriminated against in the workplace. And our focus, of course, always needs to be on enforcing those important laws that were passed by the Congress to ensure that both men and women in the workplace will be judged based on their performance and not based on their gender. Unfortunately, despite these laws, there are instances where pay discrimination still exists. With 60% of women serving as the primary earners in their households, this disparity must be addressed, and this is an important issue. But the so-called Paycheck Fairness Act that's pending on the floor, in my view, is not the answer. Instead of ensuring that women are treated fairly, the Paycheck Fairness Act would limit the ability of women, in some instances, to have flexible work schedules if that's what they need, and make it easier, much easier, to file frivolous lawsuits that, frankly, are a boon to trial lawyers. One concern I have about the bill pending on the floor, and I think it's a legitimate concern, is that it could have an impact on reducing the ability of employers to award merit pay. Now, I had the privilege of serving as the first woman Attorney General in the state of New Hampshire. And before that, I worked in private practice in a law firm. In my position and the work I've done throughout my life, I've had the opportunity to meet incredible women in all fields in New Hampshire and throughout this country. Whether it's leaders in the health sector, in the business sector, women working very, very hard every day in this country. And there are many instances, I have to tell you, where women, based on merit, have outperformed their male colleagues. So what we don't want to do is create a law and pass a law that actually reduces the opportunities for employers in the workplace to reward merit. Because women, like men, want the opportunity to earn more than their male counterparts when we do a better job. Now, last April, we had this debate, this past April, on the Senate floor. And when we had this debate on the Senate floor, we experienced what we're experiencing right now. Paycheck fairness was brought to the floor. And in fact, I worked on an amendment with some of my colleagues, Senator Fisher, Senator Collins, Senator Murkowski, and we offered an amendment that we thought would help address the discrimination that can occur in the workplace and to address retaliation when employees discuss the salaries that they make so that they can become informed in the workplace. But when we offered that amendment in April, we were denied a vote on it. We were in the same situation we are now. So it's like Groundhog Day. The Senate rejected the bill pending in April, and we were denied all amendments and ability to really debate and amend it and have a real discussion about this important issue. And here we are again, leading into November elections, and again the bill's on the floor, and again senators like me who have been offered an amendment that I hope we could discuss and consider are going to be denied that ability to do so. When I came to this floor in April, when this bill was pending on the Senate floor before, I said then, and I firmly believe it now, if the majority leader believes this is an important issue, then we should have a real debate and an open amendment process and not engage in a political charade. I think the American people deserve better. In New Hampshire, Republicans and Democrats actually got together and they were able to pass a bipartisan pay equity law, which was signed into law in July. It's a common sense measure that helps address wage disparities between men and women. And that law was the basis for the proposed amendment, which I have just tried to offer on the Senate floor, so that the Senate could consider some of the very good ideas that were worked on a bipartisan basis in my state as a way to address discrimination in the workforce. And this amendment that I have filed, but I am not being permitted to offer, this amendment is modeled on New Hampshire's law, and again, it was bipartisan. In fact, the amendment that I have offered is called Ensuring Fairness in Pay Act. It would make clear that employers have to pay men and women equal wages for equal work. It ensures equal pay for workers performing equal work under similar conditions regardless of sex. And in fact, it also prohibits retaliation against employees who discuss their pay information and prohibits employers from requiring employees to sign a contract or a waiver that prohibits the employees from disclosing their pay. This would allow employees to know what their situation is so that they can ensure that they're being treated fairly. And what was passed in New Hampshire, my amendment here, also contains teeth. In fact, similar to New Hampshire's law, my amendment would impose a $2,500 penalty for any violation of this law and for pay discrimination. And so putting teeth in it is important as well. We did that at the state level, and I thought that we should consider doing this at the federal level if my amendment could be considered by this body. It also requires employers to post a notice that sets forth excerpts or summaries of the pertinent provisions of what is the law, Title VII of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, and information pertinent to how you file a complaint if you feel that you are subject to discrimination in the workforce. Finally, my amendment encourages states to provide pay disparity statistics, including historical analysis and any information that will help the public understand and address this issue. I would urge the majority leader to put politics aside so that we can work together on a bipartisan solution, just like New Hampshire was able to do. You see, in my home state of New Hampshire, when there's an amendment offered, you actually will get a vote on it. I think we're doing a real disservice to the American people that regardless of what the issue is, that senators on both sides of the aisle, when they're offering an amendment, aren't permitted to have a vote on it on the Senate floor. So with that, Madam President, I yield the floor.